Hi, I'm Gail Rubin. Welcome to today's episode of A Good Goodbye, Funeral Planning for Those Who Don't Plan to Die. Hi, I'm Gail Rubin, host and author of A Good Goodbye, Funeral Planning for Those Who Don't Plan to Die. Welcome to today's show, brought to you by the fine folks at French Funerals and Cremations. As the doyen of death, check out the pearls, I'm all about getting the funeral planning conversation started. A doyen is a woman who's considered senior in a group who knows a lot about a particular subject, and that would be me when it comes to the party no one wants to plan a funeral or memorial service. By thinking about what you'd want in your funeral and having that conversation before there's a death or illness, you can reduce stress at a time of grief, minimize family conflict, save money, and create a meaningful, memorable good goodbye. And that's what this program is all about. Just as talking about sex won't make you pregnant, talking about funerals won't make you dead, and your family will benefit from the conversation. So let's get the conversation started. Today we're talking about pet loss because pets are an important member of our families. And today we have Beyke, a pet loss counselor in our first half, and we'll be talking with Vaughn Hendren, manager of Best Friends Forever Cemetery, in the second half. So Anne, thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here, Gail.
So how does the loss of a pet differ from the loss of a person in your family?
Well, in a lot of cases, it's not much different because pets are really a part of the family. And people may have had an opportunity to have a pet in their life for a long period of time. And that pet is a very important part of their life.
Do you think the fact that a pet loves you unconditionally plays into the grieving over a pet versus a person?
Certainly. Pets don't talk back to us. They might give us some grief, but a lot of times, maybe not as much as some other people in our lives.
Dogs versus cats. Cats have a little more attitude.
Yes, a little more sassy.
Yeah.
Yes.
What very often happens with a pet loss is that people say, oh, it was just a dog, or oh, it was just a cat. And what does that do to a person?
Well, it's what we call disenfranchised grief. And it's grief that's not acknowledged by folks about the loss. For instance, it's very easy for people to dismiss a loss of a pet. And that oftentimes makes people feel even worse about that loss, that loss is not important. That pet was not an important part of their life, when indeed it very much was an important part.
Mm-hmm. And you had your own personal experience with your own pet loss?
I did, and thank you for asking about that. I was caregiving for a golden retriever. She was almost 16 years old. Oh. She was 16 when she passed away, but I looked at her one day and realized that I needed to have somebody there for me when I was grieving, when I lost her. And it really propelled me to opening my business of pet loss and bereavement counseling.
Mm-hmm. What about the issue of deciding when to look at euthanization for a pet that's suffering?
That's always a tough one for folks. And I oftentimes hear people say, did I make the right decision? I have a kind of something I've heard from a vet over the years that's called the rule of three. It's 3 things that your pet loves to do, and that might be going for a walk, it might be treats, it might be their dinner. Mm-hmm. When your pet is not doing 2 of those things, it's time to consider euthanasia. So that rule of 3 is important to think about, and having a good relationship with your vet, mm-hmm. talking about when it might be the right time.
Mm-hmm. And having a pet euthanized at home versus at the vet's office can make a big difference in a person's experience.
It really can, and what is most comfortable for you, and of course what fits into your budget. Developing a relationship, establishing that relationship with your vet is very important, and sometimes people will plan to have their pet euthanized at home, and it just doesn't happen that way.
Is making a house call to do a euthanization more expensive than bringing it in?
It can be, yes, but again, there are a number of vets in the Albuquerque area that do home euthanasias. So I would really encourage people to have that conversation in advance, just like you talk about planning for a funeral. These are all really good things to think about in advance of a pet's death.
And shopping around.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because especially with personalities and pets, that would be a big consideration.
Definitely, and how you like the vet and how the pet gets along with that vet.
What kind of people reactions do you see when they're grieving the loss of a pet?
It varies from person to person, as you can imagine. Some people, it's incredibly, incredibly difficult, and I often say that sudden death makes it even more difficult for folks, and their grief might be a lot deeper. So each person is different. If they were expecting the loss, perhaps they're not reacting to it like we might expect them to, and there is no right or wrong way, of course.
Yes, yes. It's always a different experience for everyone.
Absolutely.
How can you tell when a person's starting to feel better getting over the loss of a pet?
Again, I think that differs. I always encourage people to go on with their usual routine, get out of the house, do things that they might not have had a chance to do before when they were caregiving. And really it's a matter of, it goes like this. It's very much a wave of one day might be okay, the next day might not be. It's really all about what you feel like you can cope with each day as you move through that loss.
So much similar to our people-to-people relationships.
Absolutely so.
Yeah. What about when there's a traffic accident? Say the pet runs out into the road, and you know it's sudden, it's traumatic.
Yep.
Is there any way you can help yourself feel better with something like that?
Well, it is a matter of being gentle on yourself, for one thing, and it's an accident is the other thing to remember, is that accidents happen, and we can't always make them not happen. It is a fact that a pet will get killed via an accident by a car or something. Be kind to yourself, be gentle on yourself, try not to beat yourself up because your pet was hurt, killed by a car or something else. Reach out to those who can help you, and that might mean going to a pet loss group. It might mean finding someone who is close to you and understands the loss of a pet.
And won't say, oh, it was just a dog, it was just a cat.
Right, and minimizing that loss.
Yeah, that's not
right.
Good. Do you think memorialization is an important part of helping to deal with pet loss?
I do. I love that idea. And sometimes the whole idea of people having a memorial seems a little foreign to folks, and it may not seem, it's just may not be something that they want to do, but it may help them. I always encourage people to think about the things that they can do to memorialize a pet, whether it's getting your friends together and having a party, a pizza party, and talking and crying, whatever it is that works.
I actually, in A Good Goodbye, I wrote about how people funerals and pet funerals have the 4 R's. You recognize that there's been a death. You remember that person or that pet telling stories. This is where you get laughter and tears. To reaffirm our beliefs. If you're going to meet up with your dog after you cross the Rainbow Bridge, to the great hereafter, say it, whatever you believe. And then to release the spirit. of
And there's no right or
deceased.
wrong way, whatever
Yeah.
works. It might be writing, it might mean, I've seen wonderful videos that people have put together that have been a great way to help them move through that grief.
That's wonderful. Any last tips you'd like to offer?
Just know, I want folks to be aware that there's no right or wrong way to grieve the loss of your pet. That pet has been an important part of your life. Reach out to those who can help you and know that you will heal and you will feel better at some point.
It will get better.
It will.
Yes, yes. And thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, we'll speak with Vaughn Hendren with Best Friends Forever Cemetery and discuss how people and pets can be laid to rest together forever.
How can you eat like that?
Relax, dude. I'm freaking dead. It's one of the perks. I can eat whatever the hell I want.
How do I get in on it?
What, the whole death thing?
Yeah.
First off, I mean, look at what you're eating. No wonder you've lived this long. Feed this to the village cow, all right? Bring him a glass of your finest expired milk. Oh, before you go checking out, do you have a will, any funeral arrangements, plans like that?
Did you?
No, and because of that, now my family's in turmoil. They're fighting, bickering over money. Now they're dead broke. Do some real planning, okay, before you figure out your exit strategy. See? Everybody's doing it.
I can't wait to get started.
I've never seen anybody dying to die like you. Good luck, kid.
Welcome back. I'm pleased to introduce Vaughn Hendren with Best Friends Forever Pet Cemetery.
Hi, Gail. Nice to be here.
Glad to have you with us. Now, what you've got going with Best Friends Forever is quite unique in the country.
It is, Gail. We allow our client families to be buried with their pets. We have a special section that is built after our Centennial Urn Garden, which has received many awards, that is specific to pets and/or/slash humans. How it works is this. The person must be cremated. We have niche spaces and we have ground spaces. If they prefer to do a full body burial with their pet, we allow that also. But this is one of the unique places in the Southwest. I don't know many in the country that allow.
I know of one in Pennsylvania. But,
there is.
You can't find too many of these kind of places where people and pets can be buried together. Now, when you say whole body burial of both the person and the pet?
No, just the pet.
Just the pet.
person in this area has to be cremated
Okay.
before we allow them to be together. It's something that is really taking off. Most people have never heard of it. I would really welcome you to come out to Sunset Memorial Park where this Best Friends Forever is located, because to get a feel for it and to see how beautiful it is.
Well, and I have been there, and there is that, it looks like a well. And tell me about that. That's
You bet. It's called an ossuary, and you're right, it looks like a wishing well. What that is after cremation, if you would like to have your pet scattered, we offer that well to be scattered. And then we also offer a cenotaph, which means that you can engrave the name of the pet, the date of death, and a line of endearment on several sections out there. We have a blue wall, tile wall, and then we also have really beautiful granite tile on the floor that we can engrave the names of the pet.
Now, there's also a pet services that French has. That can you talk a little bit about those services?
I sure can. Best Friends Pet Cremation Services has been around actually longer than the cemetery. They go hand in hand. Best Friends Pet Services offers cremation either through veterinary clinics or through walk-ins. And we also have an online presence. Our website is likeoneofthefamily.com. So as you can see, we feel that pets are part of the family. So we even have a unique service that can be done online as far as the cremation portion of it.
how does that work?
How it works is this: whether it's an at-need, whether the pet has passed away, or whether it's a pre-need, you just go to our website, and it'll walk you through every step of it. And so you choose your cremation, you choose the memorialization that you would like, the engraving, and then we will pick up at a veterinary clinic, or you can bring the pet into our care down at Best Friends, which is also located at Sunset Memorial Park.
Well, you know, I visited there, and I did a story for the local newspaper about pet loss. And the folks at Best Friends gave me a really nice tour. One of the things that impressed me is there's like a room with wallpaper that looks like outdoors, like trees or fields. And you could bring your pet in. If you had your pet die at home, the person could bring the pet in themselves and just sit with the pet before letting it go to
That is correct.
to the next thing, which is a really nice time to pause and process that loss.
Tell you a little bit how the process works. You can bring the pet directly to us, and we will take the pet in, we place it. There's a really neat area where you can place your pet to rest while we're doing the arrangements. You can also bring the pet into the arrangement room. We have a setting table there where you can have the pet there with you while you're making the arrangements.
Wow.
Then after the arrangements are made, we allow you to spend some time with the pet, which most people do.
Yeah.
Since we're the first point of contact after the death, we see a lot of emotions. And so we want to give them some time to be with their pets before they leave in our care.
When I did that article, the sense that I got is sometimes the grief people feel over the loss of a pet is very strong and very immediate. And maybe when a person in the family dies, they're just more stunned and kind of going through the motions, and then the grief kind of creeps up on you.
Interesting that you say that, because we see it over and over again. As you know, we're part of the French family of companies, and we have had numerous times where a funeral director on the human side of our business come in and sit in or actually help with an arrangement in the pet area. Every time the funeral director will tell us that, wow, there is actually more emotion in the arrangement room with a pet than there is with the arrangement room with a family. So that is not unusual at all. We see that every day.
Wow. One of the other services that you might want to think about if you don't have a pet loss professional in your area is online at the website funeralwise.com. They have a whole section related to supporting pet loss. So if you go to the funeralwise.com website, you see the tabs across the top and click on the pet loss section. You can see that they have a page with all kinds of information about cremation versus burial versus different kinds of services that you can get. And down at the bottom of that column on the left side is a page devoted to resources. So if you click on that, you'll see that there are all kinds of resources that you can access through funeralwise.com related to pet loss and grieving and really just about anything you would want to know about that. So funeralwise.com, check out their website for pet loss resources. I highly recommend it. So Vaughn, what else can we talk about in regard to the Best Friends Forever Cemetery? What kind of pets do you have buried there?
Let me give you an example. Our very, very first pet was a guinea pig. And so...
Named? Dexter.
Dexter.
Yes.
Thank you. Dexter's famous. We all have a little version. We all bought little versions of a
Guinea
stuffed
pig?
animal Dexter that we have on our desk in honor of Dexter.
Oh, that's nice.
So that was the very first. We have a sun conure out there. Dogs, cats, lizards. Interesting, yes, interesting. We allow all types of animals. We have a pre-plan that she pre-planned both of her horses that will be cremated, and they'll be interred into the ground at Best Friends Forever.
Cremating a horse, that must take some doing.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Does the retort that you have for pets there, would it
We don't
handle
have,
a
no,
horse?
we do not have the retort on the premises of Best Friends. There is a retort in Albuquerque.
Oh, okay, that's big enough to
yes,
handle that.
Yes, it is.
That might handle, are people and pet crematories kept separate?
Yes, they are.
They
Separate
are.
room, separate building. Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
And then not only do you have the in-ground burial, and that would be with flat markers, you don't have raised markers?
That's correct. Flat markers, just like Sunset Memorial Park. We followed along with the suit of that.
Okay, and then walls for niches?
We have a gorgeous niche wall at the entrance on either side, and then we have a curved niche wall as you go into the center part of the facility.
And then when somebody is going to take advantage of doing that and actually doing it, do they do ceremonies?
Yes, we have. In fact, everything is done just as we would the humans. We have the little sign out front with the pet's name. We bring the pet on our little roller, just like we would do with the humans, and we have a ceremony out there for them. Now, at this point in time, they usually do their own ceremony, but we have a family service counselor out there with them at the time, and they can stay for the closing of the grave or the closing of the niche. It's their wish, but everything's done exactly as it would on the human counterpart.
Do you require like liners or vaults like you do for people's?
We do.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is a vault will actually protect the ground, so there is no sinking of the ground, so it protects it. We take as much pride out there as we do in the human cemetery.
So what about caskets? Pet caskets?
They are available. We actually use what is, it has a double usage. It's a casket and a vault combined. So rather than having both, we can just use the one casket / vault.
Okay. And do you provide any kind of, I don't know, readings, or is there poetry that
That's
is
up to the
commonly-
individual families.
Okay.
And we'll go over that with them before. And if they do want something special, absolutely, we can provide it.
And there are a number of ways of dealing with the pet loss. You can turn the animal over to a veterinarian to take care of the cremation and maybe returning it. They can go to a place like yours. I believe the Humane Society also offers free resources if you don't have the financial resources to handle the cremation of your animal. And then there may be a couple of other resources to check out that you can find in agoodgoodbye.com. Any other last tips you'd like to share?
One of the last things I'd like to say is we welcome anyone to come down for a visit. We'll give you a tour not only of the Pet Cremation Services, but also of the cemetery. And we welcome anyone coming in to see our facilities and meet our staff.
You know, and I had a cat, a black cat named Caesar. Of course, the doyen of death has a black cat, or had a black cat. He was an indoor-outdoor cat, and we would let him out at night. And we let him out one night, and he never came back. So, you know, sometimes when your animal disappears like that, that's kind of a lack of closure, unfortunately. You wonder what happened to that animal. But, you know, I just hope he's off in a good place.
We have something for you.
What do
You could
have?
actually go out and purchase a cenotaph, and we can engrave the cat's name and date of disappearance, and even some terms of endearment. So there is something that you can do to honor that cat.
Yeah, and of course, one could also get a urn and keep your pet's cremated remains around your house.
Yes.
A nice thing to do is perhaps have a picture of the animal and light a candle every now and then, maybe on the anniversary of the death. It's something one can do in one's home.
And we provide an urn with each cremation that we service. So we provide an urn. Then we also have what is called a memorial package. Included in that package is engraving on the urn, and then a paw print and a fur clipping, which is really neat because people just can't praise us enough for allowing them to do that. It means a lot to them. It helps with the memorialization.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me again.
Good to see you again. So special thanks to our guests, Vaughn Hendren with Best Friends Forever Cemetery and pet loss counselor Ann Beyke. And a big thank you to the French family of companies for supporting this program. So join us next week as we discuss green burial and eco-friendly funerals. You can find out more about our topic today, as well as a number of great resources at my website, agoodgoodbye.com. Remember, talking about sex won't make you pregnant. Talking about funerals won't make you dead. Start a conversation today.
Proper estate planning enables you to pass your possessions and your assets to the people and organizations that you care about. By planning with a living trust, you could avoid the high cost of probate and minimize taxation. The attorneys at Morris Hall have been helping thousands of clients pass their assets as they intended. To schedule your free consultation, call us at 505-889-0100 or visit us at morristrust.com.
A Good Goodbye, Funeral Planning for Those Who Don't Plan to Die, is a light touch on a serious subject. The book has everything you need to know before you go. A Good Goodbye helps you reduce stress and family conflict, save money, and create a meaningful, memorable good goodbye. It's available in paperback and all ebook formats through online retailers and at agoodgoodbye.com. Start a conversation today.
Mom, have you thought about whether you want to be buried or cremated when, you know?
Oh, don't make a fuss over me. Just stick me out there between Floppy and Mr. Meow.
Crown molding throughout the kitchen, and wait until you see this son of a... Are you kidding me, man? You don't live here anymore.
I'm just trying to be a good son.
I don't care. Get out of the yard.
No, get out of there.
You can't avoid your funeral. Pre-plan and take the burden off someone else.
Hi, I'm Gail Rubin, host and author of A Good Goodbye, Funeral Planning for Those Who Don't Plan to Die, and creator of The Newly Dead Game. The Newly Dead Game is like the classic TV show The Newlywed Game, but the questions test how well you know someone else's last wishes. It's a fun way to get the funeral planning conversation started. For more information about The Newly Dead Game, visit agoodgoodbye.com.